And this hadith is one of the evidences that we're not allowed to have the a'yad that we like. So one of the a'yad is the birthday, because it comes about on a yearly basis. Every day, the day that you were born or the date you were born comes about again. Then again, it comes every year, so it's an Eid. And that's why they call it Eid al-Milad. The birthday in Arabic, they call it Eid al-Milad. So this Eid al-Milad, it comes about, so it falls under that hadith. Even if you didn't do anything haram on it, it's not from the things you're allowed religiously. The Eids, they are religiously regulated. So the Muslims, they have two Eids. Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha. We don't have any other Eids. We don't have the Eid of Valentine's. We don't have the Eid of Mothers. We don't have the Eid of birthdays. We don't have the Eid of a particular country. We don't have an Eid. We don't have any Eid except Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. And wallah, it's enough. When I was a non-Muslim, we used to celebrate a birthday and a Christmas. We used to have two Eid where we get presents and we get everything. And when I became a Muslim, I just said to my mom, I said, look mom, simple. Take those two celebrations we used to do, put one of them on Eid al-Fitr and put the other one on Eid al-Adha. You still get presents twice a year. But the Muslims, subhanAllah, they got greedy, they want 3 times a year. Now Allah, you get 2 times a year, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. And one thing I would advise the parents is, you must replace the haram with something alternative. So you can't just say to them, no birthday, or no presents, or no khair. You have to, on Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, you have to really make it a big celebration day. And really make your kids feel how excellent it is, so they don't feel like they crave the birthdays. And if you buy them presents during the year, kids, don't go home and tell your parents that I told you have to buy presents during the year. Anyways, if you buy them presents at different times during the year that are not associated with a day or a celebration, there is no harm in that, inshallah ta'ala, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. I'll come to the brother's question. Instead of it's going to go a long time on the floor, so just quick finish these, and then if we have time, we'll come in. I would bring for you, inshallah, afterwards, because if I didn't mention the reference in the answer, then I wouldn't remember it by memory. Maybe I forgot it. If I knew it, I would have given it. But I can give it to you, inshallah, immediately after the class. We can just pull the reference up. Sometimes I'll remember it, and sometimes if I'm not sure, then I won't say it and then get it wrong. I would rather just say it as it is, and then, inshallah, we can give the reference afterwards, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.
Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu feekum. Next question is, can you learn the Quran while you are in the state of hayd? And can you touch the Quran?
So, a lady who is on her monthly cycle, the first question we have to ask is, what's the ruling of reciting the Quran, of learning the Quran in a state of janaba? That's in a state when you are in a state after intimacy or after wet dream and you need to make ghusl. Are you allowed to recite the Quran? Jumhur al-ulama, the majority of the scholars from all of the four madahib, from the Hanafiya, the Malikiyya, the Shafi'iyya, the Hanabila, they said that you can't recite the Quran when you are junub. You can recite dua, but you can't recite large portion of the Quran when you're in a state of janaba. The next question, why did I mention that first? The next question is there any dalil for the woman in menses to make her the same as the one in janaba? In reality, there is not, because this is qiyas ma'al fariq. This is an analogy which is not the same. Because the one in janaba can remove their janaba whenever they want. He only needs to go in the shower. There's nothing between him and reciting the Quran or her and reciting the Quran except going in the shower. As for the lady who's on her menses, she can't remove it. If she goes in the shower 100 times, it will not remove the fact that she is in a state of menses. Therefore, we say these two are not the same. They are not the same. However, we would advise, out of safety and sticking with the jumhur, we would advise the lady that she doesn't touch the mushaf, or she doesn't read, she doesn't take the Arabic mushaf directly like that. If she reads from her phone, or she reads from a book of tafsir, or a translation, Arabic English translation, or she reads from the computer, or she reads from a hifz, this is aslam. It's safer. I'm not going to say it's haram for her to touch the mushaf, because aslan the dalil in this is there's ikhtilaf on it. لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. The only people who touch it are the pure people. Many of the scholars said this refers to the Lawh al-Mahfuz. It doesn't refer to the Quran. But just out of safety, for the Aslam, the safer thing is that when she memorizes and she recites the Quran, she does it from aside from the Mus'haf. There's another question which is appropriate to answer here, which is her staying in the masjid. This is where it becomes more difficult, because I personally don't believe that the evidence to keep her out of the masjid is very strong. However, still many of the scholars, if not the majority, said that she shouldn't remain for a long period of time in the masjid. So if the masjid has a room or an area that is suitable and kept aside, or if the masjid allows the ladies on the menses to come for the Quran classes and they don't mind that, then wallah, I don't see any haraj in it, any harm in it. But if it's the case that there's only the prayer hall and they would rather the woman doesn't come into the masjid, then she can find an alternative at that time, like she can read in her home, or one of the sisters can set up in their home a place for the ladies, they can come to read the Quran there, or she can go to a room in the masjid that's not part of the prayer hall, and that's just, again, the aslam, the safer opinion, even though I don't believe there is a strong dalil to prevent the woman from going and staying in the masjid at this time, but it is safer and is still the opinion of the majority, jamahir al-ulama, the vast majority of the scholars. So we just say, stay with the safe opinion, but recite the Quran, read the Quran as much as you like. It is not the same as the one in janaba. The one in janaba doesn't has the full ability to change the situation, and this lady, she doesn't have that ability. And Allah knows best.
Jazakallahu khairan. Next question is it haram to have a dog? I want to get one when I'm older.
No, wallah, it's not. You don't have to laugh at the question. Wallah, it's a sensible, well-worded question. Like, it wasn't somebody making fun. Like, the person asked a simple question. He said, I see a lot of people, they have a dog. And I would like to have a dog, kind of like, cute furry animals, some of them. Or maybe big scary animals. I don't know, do you like the cute furry ones or the big scary ones? But in any case, the person says, I see people doing this, so is it haram? We know that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever they keep a dog, they keep a dog in the house, or they keep a dog without the valid Shari'i reason, this person, they lose a qirat from their reward every single day. They lose like the mountain of Uhud from their good deeds every single day. So this is a serious matter. However, we've been permitted to keep dogs for certain reasons. But you've got to be careful about these, that they're genuine. We're allowed to have dogs when there is a reason, like a sheepdog that chases the sheep, like a guard dog that really guards, not the guard dog that is just there it's a guard dog, but it's not. Like when you really have something that needs a dog to guard it. CCTV camera will not work, alarm will not work, but you have to have that dog. And the hunting dog also. And other dogs like the dog that takes the blind, the guide dogs that take the blind people, if there's no alternative for it, then there is no harm in this. But the person doesn't keep that dog in the house. These days, Allah musta'an, when you see how the non-Muslims behave towards their dogs, wallahi, they don't behave towards their children like this. They have their love for their dog, they take the dog, and they give that dog the love of a child. And that's not allowed in Islam. These dogs are impure, they're unclean, and we only keep them for the necessity and the need that Allah has allowed them for, like a guard dog that is needed and kept outside in the kennel, and likewise the dog for the blind, or the dog that is, they sniff out the drugs and things like that. Well, there's a purpose for it, but those dogs, you don't keep them in your house, you keep them in an outside kennel away from the house, because the angels won't enter the house where there is a dog or a picture, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. But what can you do? What's the alternative? Alternative, look at all the other pets. There are beautiful pets that you can keep. And keeping pets is allowed if you treat them well in Islam and you look after them. You can keep many, many different kinds of pets that are halal. So look to one of the other pets, inshallah ta'ala, that will be nicer for you than keeping a dog which is unclean, and it's going to cause your reward to go down and the angels not to enter your house. And Allah knows best.
Jazakallahu khairan. Next question is, what is the ruling on working at McDonald's as a female? And there's two questions.
Okay, I'll try and answer that one first. There are two questions here actually in this one question. What's the ruling of working at McDonald's and what's the ruling of working as a female. Then we can combine them and we can say what's the ruling of working as McDonald's or in McDonald's as a female. So what's the ruling of working in McDonald's? The concern that I have of working in McDonald's is that working in McDonald's involves supporting and assisting in the serving of haram food. Because the food, they serve bacon there, even the meat that they serve is very rarely halal. If it's a halal McDonald's, that might be different. I don't know if you have one in Coventry. I'm sure in some places they have halal McDonald's, but the McDonald's here, they sell bacon and they sell haram food. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Help each other to do good and to do obedience, and don't help each other to do sin and transgression. And the non-Muslims are required to follow the same laws. So you can't serve a non-Muslim bacon and say, oh, I just don't serve it to the Muslim. You can't serve even to the non-Muslim. You can't serve them bacon. So I worry that working there is not halal at all because of that. Unless it is a halal branch. Now what is the ruling on women working? The asl in working is that the men work and the women don't. This is the basic generally how things work. Because men are required to provide for women. الرجال قوامون على النساء. The men, they are responsible for the women, and they have to pay for that lady's upkeep, for her clothing and her food and her accommodation. So the basic principle is that she doesn't work. We're not saying it's haram for her to work, we're just saying that normally the man should work and the woman doesn't have to work. Now the women at this point, they often bring up Khadija radiallahu anha. First of all, we say that Khadija working, it happened prior to the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is not from our sharia in the first place. لا يدخل في شريعتنا. It doesn't come into our sharia because it was before the prophethood. The second thing is that when she married the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before prophethood, she stopped working. That's another point. So in both ways, the argument that Khadija used to work is not an argument aslan in the first place. It's not included in Islam. However, a woman is allowed to work with conditions. One of the conditions is that working is halal for her, meaning that she herself doesn't fall into the haram in any way, and that applies to men and women, right? It's not just women don't have to do that. Women stay away from the haram, and men you can do the haram. No, it's men and women. But the rule is she can't be doing something haram. So something where she has to touch foreign men, or they see her without hijab, or she's in a mixed environment where men and women are close proximity together. All of these things are haram for the men and haram for the women. The second condition is that her work must not detract from her main role. So women have different roles. If she's a young girl, her main role might be to obey her parents and look after her parents. If she's married, her main role is to take care of the husband and his home and his property and so on. So it shouldn't take away from that role. So she might be working from home, completely halal, but she's doing something that means that when her husband comes home and he needs her to take care of certain responsibilities, she says, I can't, I'm working. No, it has to be like that. And the third thing is that she has the permission of her guardian, whether it is her father or her husband, to do so. So halal doesn't take away from her responsibilities, and permission of her husband or her guardian, her father, to do so. And if she does that, it's halal for her to work. So we say that it's very unlikely that either a man or a woman could work in McDonald's in this country. And with regard to the women, those conditions exist, so you can put them together and you can get the ruling for that. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.
Jazakumullahu khair wa ahsanallahu ilayk. Next question is, what is the advice on moving away from home for university and living away as a female?
Wallahi, this is really, really important. And it's not just for the females also. First of all, university is in itself a double-edged sword. For some people, there is khair in it, but for most people, and I'm not shy to say most people, for most people, there is a lot of haram in it. There's haram in the way that they take the money, There's haram in the funding, there is haram in the environment, there's haram in what they do when they're there, there's haram in the way that they live. There's a lot of haram involved for a lot of people. And I fear most of the people, Allah, and we ask Allah for safety, but you worry about this. Yes, it is possible that university can benefit people also. But what we have to look here is this problem of people sending their children to university without thinking the reason even behind it. Say, I'm going to send my child to university. Why? Because that's how people get jobs. No, it isn't. There's no dalil for that. In fact, sometimes people come out of university and can't get jobs. People come out of university with debt, that the job they get, they spend the first 6-7 years paying back the debt that they had from the university. Rather, for many people, apprenticeships are available, training is available, part-time study is available, the company can fund the university, that's available. So people need to just think before they make the statement that you can't get a job unless you go to university. That's the first thing. If a person has a good reason for going, like they really have planned out what they're going to do, not like those brothers who they go and study a degree, then they come out and they say, all the jobs are haram. I've got a student loan, I've got big debt, I've fallen into haram, and I've realized that when I graduated, all the jobs in my field are haram. That's a big problem. So a person goes to uni for a good reason, and their funding is halal funding, the way they fund it. And they keep themselves safe from the haram of the mixing and the boyfriends and girlfriends and the drink and the drugs and all the other stuff that people are doing. They keep themselves safe from that, and they take their precautions. Then inshallah there's khair, inshallah ta'ala, for certain people in certain things, part-time degrees, distance learning, the people who go to uni and keep their head down, they just go to the class, the people whose class is majority of a particular, and it's organized in a nice way. But for a sister, the additional concern is living away from home. And actually, I'm not going to even say for the sisters, for everybody, but especially for the sisters, but even for the brothers. Because as soon as you go out having responsibility over you, you start letting your hair down a bit and being a bit relaxed about things and sometimes falling into a lot of haram. And let's be honest, university is a time when there's a lot of haram around you. Lot of haram around you in every single way. Also, even what they teach in the courses, teaching kufr and things like that, there's a lot of haram, wallahi, around them. So with regard to the lady, if a lady is to live, let's say for example, her mahram takes her to another city and leaves her in a safe place, then inshallah ta'ala we hope that this is not haram for her to do that. Like for example, that she needs for some reason medical treatment or some other important reason, she needs to go to another city, her mahram can't stay with her, but he takes her there, he leaves her in a place that's amin, this condition, a place that should be safe. And then he collects her from that place and he brings her back again. Inshallah, we see this to be, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best, we see this to be okay. But can you say that university is a place that's safe? Wallah, I don't feel safe in university. University is not a safe place. And university student accommodation is also not a safe place, not even if it's all female. Because those females are bringing in guys and mashakil and problems and all the things these people are going through and the temptations and whatever. And you know what the people are involved in these days, we seek Allah's refuge. So I don't really see how staying in a student accommodation for a lady, even if her mahram takes her, it's difficult. Rather, wallah, what we heard, and I forgot who told me this, but wallah, it was a really, wallah, yeah, I remember who told me this. My father-in-law told me. Wallahi, this is a story, wallahi. It makes you want to cry. Of a brother he knows, and this brother he's not very wealthy, and he's limited resources. And his daughter, she goes to university in another city. Like Birmingham to Coventry, for example. Every single day, he drives her to the university, he takes her into a class, and he sits outside on the bench. He sits outside until her class is finished, and then he collects her and he drives her home. SubhanAllah, that is something else, and that is something you rarely see. that amana and that ri'ayah and that, that look, that tarbiyah from a parent. That he takes his daughter and he takes her into the class and he sits outside in the cold. Because he doesn't have a place to go, he doesn't have a lot of money either. So he just sits. And he said, I just sit until she finishes her class and then I collect her and I take her back. If there's a parent that's willing to do that like that, then they can consider whether that might be something worthwhile, depending on the masalih and the mafasid, the positives and the negatives. But the parent just wants to send his daughter out like that out in the world, and then Allah Musta'an doesn't know what happens when he comes back. I just recently dealt with a situation of a girl, she went away to uni, and good sister, decent girl, and she got herself into all sorts of big problems that now the people trying to unravel them and fix them and solve them. So wallah, it's not like we don't think it's a good idea to do this, and the parents need to rethink about their sons and their daughters. And one of the parents make mistakes is that they send their sons and then they keep their daughters at home. They say, my daughter, I want to keep her safe, but my son, go and do whatever you want. And then the son gets himself into problems and we have to sort them out. So I would not advise this really for anyone. And uni, I don't hate uni, I think uni has a place. But I think this idea of sending everyone, whether he's a grade A or a grade, as well as having the lowest of the low, we send him to uni. And we send him to do courses that wallahi, like they are not even worth the paper they're printed on. And then we get him jobs that are haram and he has to pay off debt his whole life. That doesn't make sense to me. Think about before you send your kids, do they need to go? Because I know people who went into manual labor and they earn more money than a uni graduate. They went into bricklaying and he's earning, and this guy now he's earning 3 times what the IT graduate is earning. And all he did is learn how to put one brick on top of the other. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but I'm just giving an example that sometimes your ideas of where people earn a living from and money from might not be correct. And there's a misconception about the knowledge economy that people put in, where they put this idea into people's minds that you have to go to uni. And even people might say about medicine and things like that, where you do have to go to uni, but those are other things that it's a long topic to talk about, but that's what Allah made easy for me to mention, inshallah. The brothers never wrote any of these questions. All the sisters. Yalla, let's ask the brother. I think the brother had one question because he's about to ask. Yeah, online. This is a part-time. A friend of mine did uni part-time. What he did is he decided that uni was a problem for him, so he was working and he was going to uni 3 nights a week. He said, alhamdulillah, the uni was calm, there was nobody around at that time. I go to my class, I did my work, I came out, I graduated my options, and alhamdulillah, I didn't get any debt. So Allah, there's khair for the people who look for it. I'm not saying never send anybody ever to any uni, but just this idea of sending everybody is the thing that I have the issue with. See what about the, we have to take that from the brothers. Okay, you both had your hand up, or you just helping him? Okay, yalla, habibi. Are you allowed to take a student loan? Wallah, we don't see this to be permissible, and we don't see that there is a justification for it, even though if there may have been some of the fatwa that got circulated, but what we can see is it's an interest-based loan, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. And even if I don't think there's, like we said, some fatwa got circulated, but wallahi, from what I can see, that to the best of my ability and the best of my knowledge, and I consulted with the tulab al-ilm, the brothers that we know in this country, wallahi, what we can see is that it is an interest-based loan, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.
We'll ask maybe 1 or 2 more questions, inshallah. Salah is very soon from the floor, inshallah, since the sisters have asked most of the questions.
Okay, beautiful question. The person or the questioner, the brother, Jazallahu khairan, he's asking about the reconciliation between the 2 issues. You only enter Jannah because of the mercy of Allah. But what about the balancing of the scales and the good deeds, and whoever scales are heavy and so on? The reconciliation between this is to say, your deeds are what get you the mercy of Allah. Are you with me? You only enter Jannah because of the mercy of Allah. No one's scales are heavy enough to get them into Jannah alone. But when your scales are heavy, Allah has mercy on you and gets you into Jannah. Does that make sense, yeah? if you have a few bad deeds and lots of good deeds, inshallah ta'ala, those bad deeds will be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it may be that certain bad deeds Allah might punish if He wishes. Because there are certain things that Allah threatens punishment for if He wishes. For example, the one who kills a believer deliberately, Allah threatens him with Jahannam. But at the end of the day, is it necessary that that person is guaranteed to go to Jahannam? No. Then under the forgiveness of Allah, if He wills, the will of Allah, if He wills, He forgive them, if He wills, He overlook them. But there are certain sins that are causes for the punishment in Jahannam before the Muslim goes to Jannah. So you try to keep away from those now. And Allah knows best. Yes, Habib. If you like. Okay, beautiful question. Wallah, this is a very nice question. So he asked the question that we're in an assembly in school, for example, and we're asked to sing, or we're asked to do some element of haram in that assembly. Do we get a sin for doing that? What we say is that when a person is in that kind of environment, they shouldn't take part. So they should not actually take part in that action. Even if the teacher makes them stand in front of the people, they should just, and they just move their mouth like that. But don't let them take part. Let them move their mouth with La ilaha illallah, make tasbih, takbir. Say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And if they force you and they say, you have to sing something, make inshad. Yani make a inshad, yani like a nasheed, yani like just mention Allah's names and praise Allah, and make inshad, and recite poetry in a nice voice. But don't take part in those people. And then try to ask your mom and dad how you can get out of it next time. Because a lot of the schools will allow you to write a letter to the head teacher and say, I don't want my son to take part in that assembly, or I don't want my daughter to take part in that assembly. And the parents in the masjid, they should put pressure on the schools for this. The whole masjid should come with an official thing to the school to say, it's not right, this is not what we believe in. We don't do this, especially when it involves other religions as well. Like if they ask you to sing about Christmas, or they ask you to sing about something like that, A'udhu Billah, just make tasbih, La ilaha illallah, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Move your lips so the teacher doesn't give you a hard time, inshallah. And Allah knows best. But talk to your parents so it doesn't happen again and again, inshallah. And if you do your best, and you fear Allah as much as you can, you won't get a sin. Because Allah said, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah as much as you can. That's the best answer I can give. I think that's a nice place to conclude, sir. Okay, if we just ask everyone to just listen, inshallah, while we conclude, because usually everybody starts talking at this point. And I think Muhammad, you have some words to conclude, inshallah.
Inshallah, we're going to conclude here. A few minutes left for Salah. We come to an end of our third annual winter conference. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it a blessed one. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward all of our mashayikh that have come all over the place, especially